Well, hello everyone. Welcome.
Hello.
Welcome to the first ever Ask the Drinker and MauLer. Thank you, MauLer, for agreeing
I'm
to come in
here.
on this tonight.
No
it's
problem.
it's a change to the regular programming tonight. Basically, because I'm going to be leaving quite early tomorrow to fly out to MegaCon in Orlando, and that's all lovely. But I have to be up super early for it, and so an open bar was probably just a bit too much tonight. So I'm doing something a little bit simpler and a bit more chill, and I figured I would just do an Ask the Drinker stream. And Mauler graciously agreed to give some of his time to do it. So thank you, man.
No problem. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, well, I'm sure people have got a lot of questions for us. And normally stuff like this is just done as a recording when we do the after hours stuff. Last orders, that was it. So it's nice to be able to do it live for a change and like get people as they ask the questions, try and keep up anyway. And look,
We'll
the
give it a
critical
shot.
doggos are even here. Back by popular demand. You can tell how excited they are to be here.
Yeah. So when you talk about catching up, I was trying to, while playing a game, answer them, and I still, by the time at the end of a 7-hour one, I was like, I have to go to sleep. I can't keep. I was like, I'll do it tomorrow. I swear.
It's just like it's so difficult to play a game and answer super chats and keep up some kind of commentary and not just constantly die. It's a bit of a skill.
It's like
Who
you need a
says
little
that guys
robot in
can't
your ear
multitask?
that reads it. Oh yeah, no. We still give it a good shot. When you have hyper repetitive gameplay, that's kind of helpful for reading super chats.
I think so, yeah. And well, actually, that probably takes us quite neatly into our first one. Actually, it was from. I'll have to scroll back to the top. Actually, from Cobus Joubert says thoughts on the new DC game Drinker. It's trash. Mauler can give us his thoughts on it since
I
he's
almost want
played
to
most of it.
get this known on any and all podcasts I'm on immediately. Do not buy the game. If you have, refund it immediately. It is a fucking disaster. You will hate it. You will hate every second of it, both mechanically and story-wise. This game is going to crash, plummet, and die. All I've seen of all the viral tweets related to it, people saying, "What the fuck is this mess?" That's all it is.
I mean, it's good that the reaction has been the way it has, though, because it'll teach the company something, hopefully. This
Yeah.
is not what people want.
No. No. And, I always want to try and be fair. There's a way to make some of these premises work, but this ain't it. Not even
Yeah.
close.
Well, I think you likened it to figuratively and literally pissing on the hero's grave in the course
Yeah.
of this game. So,
With people vaguely trying to defend some of the choices when they haven't got any context for why anyone's even annoyed at this. Don't you know the Suicide Squad aren't good people? Like, oh man. Such insight into this wonderful conversation.
thank you, Chris Raygun.
Thank you. Top notch.
What makes it sad as well? This was Kevin Conroy's last appearance as Batman, like
So
voicing
what
him
I'm
anyway.
hearing is that he's got one more left for a TV show, luckily. So this isn't actually the last one, but that's what a lot of people were operating on for information, which is extra fucking painful for a while.
Yeah.
But it's still bad enough that it's the Arkham Batman, the one who went through 4 huge games, this defeated all kinds of enemies for so long, and where does he end up? It's like beaten, bloodied, and executed on a bench by Harley fucking Quinn. I've been told how much she's had a hard life thanks to him,
Of all the people, it had to be her to kill him. I can't remember who said it as well, but like, it came up on Twitter and it made me think, yeah, you're right on this one. Enough with the fucking Harley Quinn obsession.
Oh god,
You guys
so
have
dumb.
tried to make her work in so many fucking movies, and she's irritating as fuck every time. She's like the centerpiece of all these different video games. Like, give it up. Like, there's other characters apart from Harley Quinn. She doesn't have to be the center of everything. Like, we get it. Margot Robbie is super popular right now, and so everyone wants to milk that and associate her with the character. But there is more out there in the DC universe than Harley Quinn.
It's it's an absolute fucking nightmare because every instance of her has now been so crap that like no one wants to see her anymore. Even a good version of her, which is like, please leave, get out of here.
Yeah.
They have her in the game looking at her costume from the previous games and being like, ugh, because it's so revealing.
I know. Imagine that, eh? Like a character who's literally built around a Harley Quinn fucking dancer. That's what she's meant to look like. She's a jester.
She's also insane.
Well, yeah, I was going to add that as well. Yeah.
And I think what people get really confused about on this is all the moral grandstanding she does. One of the earlier games, like there's a plot line to do with Titan, which is like a horrible poison / steroid / thing. I'd have to replay them to give you more specifics than that. Her and Joker put it in a 5-year-old. And like she at one point is pissed off at a character because they put a bomb injector into Poison Ivy because Poison Ivy in this game for some fucking reason is a kid.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Like people were
Yep, you
showing that
remember
to us.
that?
It's like, yeah, the
Everyone.
Poison Ivy is meant to be all like sensual and like seductive, and then they show this fucking retarded looking kid that
And then
comes
they have
waddling out.
Harley Quinn say she's fun-sized.
Ooh. Ugh.
With of course their history being that they were together ? Even though I don't know how new that is as continuity, but yeah, everyone was
Harley
fucking
Quinn and
disturbed by
Poison
that shit.
Ivy.
Yeah, depending on what new thing you watch.
Of course they were, yeah.
Don't worry, everybody
yeah.
in chat, you've got emojis associated with this that you can press called police, and you can just post that when this sort of thing shows up.
This one. Good lord. Yeah, this just makes me hate video games, stuff like this.
Yeah, a little bit.
Or at least modern video games. It was all right until about 10 years ago. Then it just went off the rails.
This is the thing. You don't want to lump all of them together because this is horrendous. And like a lot of people saying, like Spider-Man 2, and it's like pretty sure Spider-Man 2 is way better than this. And then Ragnarok, as far as I'm concerned, is way better. Like it's top tier compared to stuff like this. But like a lot of people want to say like they're all representative of the modern gaming stuff. And I'm just like, I'm sorry, this is something else. This is trying to nickel and dime you with pathetic gameplay and a story to keep you like busy by disgusting you. It's
I mean, it really sounds like this one just embodies all the worst aspects of modern gaming.
Yeah. There are still good games.
Yeah.
They're out there. You just got to find them.
Yeah. They're just getting increasingly difficult to find. Andrew McCarthy is asking us, why is Dr. Kynes a woman in June 2021? We got asked this before on Open Bar, and it sparked like a 30-minute discussion. Just kept going. Yeah, I think it just is like they just wanted a bit more diversity in their casting, and so she was, or Dr. Kynes was gender swapped, as happens. But it's a relatively minor character, so it didn't like ruin the movie or anything. It was just one of those things you kind of could tell that they had to do to get it commissioned. Chucksenhausen's got a two-parter here. Says, Drinker, loved your review on Reacher. Shh, I haven't released that publicly yet. It's on my Patreon and Subscribestar at the moment anyway. So like early access and all that. But yeah, I did my review for season 2 of Reacher, and overall I liked it. I didn't think it was as good as season 1. I think it tries to be a bit more ambitious and big in terms of the action and the scope of it. Maybe falls short in some areas. But overall, I think it's still pretty decent. So it's okay. He also says, do bring Dark Hour and Blue Collar on to discuss it. Well, I will do that next time we have an open bar, I guess. Jordan Pendragon says, which release version of Blade Runner would you consider superior? I never particularly liked the idea of Deckard being a replicant, as it seemed like too much of an inherent conflict of interest. How do I even define the different versions? Because there's been about 20 of them at this point, and I don't know what they're all labeled as. Like, I hate the one that has the narration for obvious reasons. Harrison Ford hated it as well and vowed to give his worst performance ever for it. And I hate the one where it's got like the almost happy ending where Rachel and Deckard escape to like the wilderness, and it's just like shots, which was actually leftover footage from The Shining, used as like this idyllic ending. That was a weird one. And I don't like when it makes it clear that they think that Deckard is a replicant. I preferred the version where it's just ambiguous. That was fine by me. I like that eternally unanswered question about whether or not Deckard was human, because we can still debate it even now. It's great. So whatever that version is called, that's my favorite.
Personally, I'd probably go with Final Cut. And
which is what?
Well, that has stuff in it that I see. You're talking about the unicorn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that has the unicorn in it, but that's fine with
me. Even then, you could... Nah, that's pretty definitive then when you get the unicorn. Okay.
Well, you know, it's up for everybody, and I agree with you. I value the discussion on it, but feel like if we were to like poll the audience, it would be majority think he's human. When I feel like the android argument, or rather the replicant arguments, are very interesting. Very interesting.
I think my gut feeling was that he was a replicant.
Well, you have a lot of different avenues for the argument, right? A lot of people say he's a human in the book, and it's adapted from there. According to the screenwriter, he was a human. According to Harrison Ford, at the time, he was human. There's a lot of meaning to draw out of him being a human. I understand that. I do. But if you got to be careful with this sort of thing. It's like, don't get angry now, chat. But there are many references to why you would believe he's a replicant. And there are a couple of people who created it who say that he is a replicant. I'm more than happy to say, you know what? We ignore everything outside of the film. You choose your cut and you have your interpretation. Fine by me.
Yeah. I think it would add it would add that extra layer of pathos, I suppose, that he's hunting his own kind and he doesn't even know it. And Roy Batty's final act is to save one of his fellow replicants, not even maybe knowing that he is what he is.
I'm glad you're aware of some of these things. I've read into it. I'm like, ooh, I quite like the idea. There's a couple of cool things about it.
Yeah. But whichever direction you choose to go, I love that movie. It's so fucking good.
It's a brilliant movie, foundational for the influences in culture, specifically for sci-fi. Excellent stuff. Top notch. 10 out of 10. All of the praise. Thumbs up. Woohoo.
Yep. I know you can't quite see it. You can probably just see the lower edge of it just there. But yeah, I've got a giant poster of it, like a canvas frame of it. And there's one for Predator and right next to it as well. So two of my favorite movies. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Jordan Pendragon says, I'd prefer not including the unicorn dream sequence at all, but the versions without it include Deckard's narration, which I'm not fond of either. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. So if only there was a happy medium which didn't have either of those things, that'd be great. There are 7 different versions of the film, and there are none which omit both the narration and the dream sequence. Fuck. That's
Make your own, drinker. Make your own.
Yeah, well, yeah. The drinker cut. Mr. Luca says, face masks in GOT. What's your thoughts? What?
Face GOT? Masks in Game of Thrones?
Where are there face masks in that, though? Like, literally the faces? The men of faces, or whatever they're called? Like, where they can just take on different identities?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Sorry, man.
So if they're talking about that or not, yeah, maybe.
Michael Brocky says, has your faith in Daredevil Born Again improved now that everyone is back? Seeing Matt, Foggy, and Karen back made this nerd happy. Appreciate you both. Don't be suckered in by this bullshit. Those characters are just shiny keys that they are jangling in front of you. Do not be taken in by it. It's still made by the same fucking idiots that have made everything else on Disney+. It's almost certainly going to be trash. The days of good Daredevil TV shows are far behind us, I'm afraid. So, no, it hasn't renewed my faith in Daredevil Born Again. I just feel sad for Vincent D'Onofrio and Charlie Cox. They deserve better. They are good actors, and they really care about their characters, and they're not being well served. Piston says, please describe Tatiana as if she was a video game that left you for a richer man so that MauLer can call you a cuck, but not just a cuck, a drunk cuck.
No, that's a reference.
It's great because I understand that reference as well. I saw that little bit of the stream.
Oh, God, yeah. Most people should. They should be sent it. It was fucking crazy. I don't know how the hell something like that happens, but it does.
It honestly felt like one of those times where, like, I don't know, a coach is giving an inspirational speech to his team, and it starts getting like more and more specific to like his own life, and like, oh, okay, this is just his own personal therapy session here. Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
The doctor says, why should studios listen to fans if we can't tell the difference between masterpieces like Man of Steel and Joker versus dog turds like Inception and The Last Jedi? Could the vision be why modern movies suck?
Wait. That's a pretty funny question to say
I
that
mean,
Man of Steel is a masterpiece.
those are interesting examples you've given, sir. I mean, maybe that's the point of what he's saying here. We can't tell the
Maybe.
difference. But I guess that's the point of what we try to do, like as reviewers. We try to point out why certain things work well and others don't.
Yeah.
And maybe once people take those lessons on board, they can apply that to other films, and then, hey, they won't need us anymore. We can just retire. We've done our work.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely fair to say that there's a push and pull, right? The audience loving, or not even necessarily loving, but certainly going to watch Transformers in the world means that when you watch it's like, we're getting more of these, everyone. It's like, all right. The films that nobody thinks are like substantive in any way, mostly praised for like some of the action scenes, but even then most people I talk to hate those. So it's just like, is it not the audience's fault though? And it's like, with that one, sure, I guess. Like the people just eat it up and love it, and it's going to confuse studios because they're like, I guess we keep making it, and then they do, and then they make money. And simple
I think
feedback loop.
Yeah, but then I guess the difference being that something like Transformers was never high art. It's not like it was once a smart, well-written and meaningful franchise. It was always
But it
just
wasn't
like
that.
giant robots punching each other.
I feel like I'm not familiar enough with Transformers to say you're wrong, but I feel like Az would be killing you right now. Maybe.
Well, I guess the point I'm driving at here is like if you were then to take something like Star Trek, which was smart and well written and actually had something meaningful to say, and then you compare it to what it is now, it's a massive difference, and it's a degradation of the brand and the franchise through terrible writing. And so that, I guess, is the difference. Like you can have something which is just dumb from the outset, and like fine, like if people like it, okay, sure. But if it starts out as something pretty good and pretty meaningful to our culture, and then it gets subverted and turned into trash, that's I guess when I would want to push back against it. Particularly when people are gradually getting acclimatized to that thing which used to be great being shit, and they don't know any better now because they've grown up with it being shit. That's where I have an issue.
Obviously, I can't say too much on this just because of the fact that I'm not as familiar with Transformers. But I mean, isn't there a cartoon movie that people really love? Right?
What, from the 80s?
Yeah.
Yes.
And that they would have preferred something like that, and that the opening is it to one of them, maybe two of them, is something that people kind of were like, oh, if they did a whole movie of this, I'd love it, That's all the things I remember from my brief osmosis with hearing people talk about Transformers.
Yeah, but I think even then, like if you were to take that movie from the 80s, again, I wouldn't consider it to be like a particularly like deep and meaningful thing. It's fun and it's definitely entertaining, and there's got some poignant moments. Optimus Prime actually dies in it, and that the reaction to that was so negative that they actually rewrote the entire G.I. Joe movie because a major character was going to die in that too, and they changed it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I guess the basic premise of what Transformers hasn't changed. It is just giant robots fighting each other. Whereas, yeah, some of these other franchises they have lost so much, I suppose, and I feel like they're never going to get it back. Cold Brew says, if you had a chance to make a new Star Wars trilogy, would you use legacy characters like Luke, Han, etc., to make up completely different characters? Also, you guys should have Brett from Pop Culture Crisis on Open Bar. Should we have Brett? I don't know too much about Pop Culture Crisis.
Sure.
But yeah, if we were to do like our own Star Wars trilogy, what would you want to do?
Well, keep them or not? Well, I mean, if we're respecting them, then keep them, which we would do our best to do, right?
Yeah, so essentially, would it be like we could just erase the sequel trilogy and do our own? Or is it like, do we have to work with what's already been?
Right. Well, I guess in both scenarios, I'd want to use the OGs if they were available. Obviously, some of them aren't even now, but because I'd like to correct mistakes or build up new stories or both. So, like I'd be willing to do some really stupid shit if it meant we'd have that or nothing. And what I mean is that Han shows up and they're like, "Didn't you die?" And he's like, "I've been fighting on the other side of the galaxy. What are you talking about? And it's like
that was a clone. Let's just go with
exactly.
clones.
They were all fucking clones. Easy. All of it was a big
Retarded
simulation.
clones.
It was this big dumb computer simulation from a new enemy called Computor.
Calculon. I mean, at this point, I almost feel like I would want to just break free from all that and branch out a little bit and just go with whole new characters. Because this reliance on the OT is almost what's killing Star Wars, or like what has got it caught in the mire of shit writing. And it's a difficult one to define, because I think there's definitely ways you could have done the sequel trilogy right and brought back the original characters and given them a great send-off and all that great stuff. For sure, it could have been done. But because the well is so poisoned now with everything that they've made, I almost just don't want to go near them at all. I would want to just get away from all of that and do something new, like wipe the slate clean, and go somewhere else. Have new characters and force either myself or the writing team to come up with new ideas that can't just use the crutch of the Skywalkers to hobble along on.
Well, if we were in control, though, we wouldn't do that anyway, right? We would give them the stories we believe they deserve and then move on. Like,
yeah, in an ideal world. But I guess long term, yeah, this is probably where you would want to head. And it's I've said this in my most recent Star Wars video, that the only thing that gave the sequel trilogy any measure of success was just the constant reliance on existing characters. Just wheeling them out, knocking them down, and then moving on to the next one. That was what kept it ticking along. The problem is now that they've just killed everyone that was ever relevant or that anyone ever cared about. And so they've run out of fuel for that particular fire. That's why they haven't made any new movies in like 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny, like I'm getting a lot of insight into the Transformers cartoon here. It was from the cartoon from '87, had much more deeper things to say than anything the live action has produced. I mean, yeah, true. That is a really fucking low bar, though, to be fair.
Yeah. Somebody was saying, like, people got mad at me because I said Andor is better than the prequels. And then I was like, I didn't realize, like, prequels is not a high bar, even. Just, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I think it's like, okay, in terms of the plot mechanics and how everything hangs together, yeah, Andor is probably better constructed. Obviously, the thing it lacks is just like really iconic characters that people are invested in.
Yeah,
it's a very intellectual exercise, as Andor.
Hey man, we got one more season. They've finished filming, so maybe that one. I don't know if everyone's going to give it another chance or anything, but hey, it'd be cool if it, has a punch, which I hear it might very well do.
That would be nice. RRTNZ says, "Hail drinker, Shway MauLer or Shmay." I don't know how you say that.
Shemai.
Shmai MauLer. Why have Nick Cage and Chuck Norris never appeared in an action film together? It's rhetorical. Too many fatalities and spontaneous pregnancies from just the table read. That is true. Throw probably Steven Seagal into the mix as well, and you've got like the triumvirate of action disasters. Master of Puppets says, "Hail Drinker and MauLer, did you hear about the director of Roadhouse tearing into Amazon? And have you seen the trailer for the new Ghostbusters movie? It doesn't look terrible." Well, that's
talking about the ice one.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I don't. The trailer itself, I'm like, okay, it seems like a kind of fun, cool Ghostbustery problem to have to deal with, and you got a bunch of people in there. I guess I need to check out who's writing it. What's their history? Like, what have they written?
Yeah. Because I don't know, man. If it's the same writing team as Afterlife, they got problems, because wow, that movie is soured in my opinion so much.
I've watched you turn on it over time.
It's been an interesting journey for me, actually. I see at this point now, and I feel like I need to go back and rewatch something that I absolutely shat on before, like Midsummer or something. Maybe I'll think it's like the best horror movie ever at this point. Who knows?
So, written by Gil Kanan, canon. I'm not sure. Jason Reitman.
Okay.
Yeah, which I have some familiarity with. Right, he's. I'm not as familiar with his work compared to his dad, of course.
I don't.
Oh,
Yeah.
he wrote Afterlife, so sorry, Drinker.
Yeah. I don't think he's going to measure up to his dad. I mean, not knocking him or anything. I think he has the best of intentions with this franchise. I just don't think he has his father's skill in that regard. And the first two movies were written by Harold Ramis and Dan Aykroyd as well. Like, and Reitman, I think,
Right,
was
yeah.
directing. So, like, different writers, different style. Justin Martin says, Drinker, with your foray into film, would you ever try to do an 80s style action flick in the vein of Commando or Big Trouble in Little China? Also, hi, MauLer. Love your videos, especially Multiverse of Madness and Antifa Man.
I hope your answer is yes to that, Drinker.
I would love to do that, yeah. Like a proper old school 80s flick. All practical effects, just a big muscly guy shooting a machine gun for 2 hours straight. And some random naked women who show up as well. Like, what's not to like? Yeah, give the people what they want. Yeah, it's funny. I was looking at we have a bit of a new crop of like gigantic action stars. Like, not in terms of like their screen presence, but just their actual physical size. Like, if you were to take Alan Ritchson from Reacher, who's become ginormous now, pop him in a movie with The Rock and like fucking Batista, you've got almost got like a new cast for a Predator movie. Like, they're that big, and it's interesting that they're around at the moment. I don't know. Are we seeing a resurgence of this kind of action movie? It'd be nice, bit of variety, you know.
Yeah, be fun.
Avarith says, can you guys explain how we went from 20 plus episode seasons, which could tell stories in one episode, to 9 episodes a season with no story or characters?
I don't fucking exactly know, even though we've kind of tracked it. One of my theories, which again is woefully misinformed potentially because of just how much TV I'd have to take in to really see the patterns, but Prestige TV had a thing once, and what I mean is almost like by definition, when it's shorter and more quote unquote focused, people are like, oh, this is the impressive TV. This is
Yeah.
HBO level, this is the stuff that when we watch it, we're gonna be as highly entertained as possible. And it's like, oh, like some of the top examples would be like, why am I blanking
Well,
on
The Sopranos.
I wasn't
was
gonna go with
Prestige.
Sopranos. What's Jesus, my brain's useless. The Pacific was the other one. What was the first one?
Band of Brothers.
Band of Brothers. That's one of the best examples ever. Like a really tightly wound and focused series that's top quality and delivers like, story. And it's like, whoa, look at that go.
Well,
And
it's
then,
huge budgets as well, obviously, because it's like big
yeah,
actors, big action sequences, all that sort of thing, like mini
because
movies, basically.
Sopranos, The Wire, and stuff like that, I thought they were 22 episode seasons, or are they not?
I would need to check, but then that's like going back to the sort of mid 2000s, which was again quite a different time.
I feel like
think it wasn't until the 2010s that you saw the rise of like the 10 episode season.
Yeah,
and
it came across to me like because Game of Thrones just shrank over time, and I assume it's something to do with like there's legal benefits or production benefits or whatever. But I think there's supposed to be some kind of thing of 22 episode season. Oof, give me a list of the skippable episodes. And it's like, oh, versus 6 episode season, 10 episode season. It's like, yeah, I can get through that. And I think that's what they were trying to bank on, Disney. But the thing is, they don't have stories to tell. I don't even mean that as the insulting way. It is an insult, but Ahsoka was one of the most like revealing ones ever. We had like 4 episodes where nothing fucking happened at all. It could have all been summarized in 10 minutes. The enemy has key to Thrawn. They go follow her. That's it.
Yeah, it's just a series of fetch quests, basically.
Yeah. 13 was Sopranos. Okay.
And I don't know. Like, we've kind of seen the demise of episodic storytelling as well, where it's now become serialized. So, like, you used to have Star Trek was a good example for where you had a monster of the week or like the adventure of this week, and each one was kind of a self-contained story. Like the continuity was there, but like there was a separate adventure each time. But now it's like every storyline has to span an entire season, And you can't do 22 episodes of that. It's way too much to tell any story in. And so I guess that was part of it too. And
I think that is, yeah. It's like a combination because they would have thought it's cheaper, it's faster, it looks more prestigious. People might have more reason to check it out if they think, oh, I can get this done faster. Very bingeable, right? Like, which seems to be the weird new obsession they've had in the recent years.
well, it has to be on streaming, doesn't it? Because
Yeah,
it used to be with cable TV or just regular old TV. You get a new episode each week and you would tune in to watch it. Like now you can stream all of it in one go. And so you need it to be tight. You can't have fluff episodes. You can't have just like bottle episodes that don't really connect to everything else. It has to be tight and it has to be self-contained, and it probably has to be done in 10 episodes or less. And all those things combined together to give you what you have now.
What's insane about that is that a lot of the shows that we've seen that do have the 22 episode sort of thing, be it like a Farscape or a Buffy and Angel and stuff, where they do, I think Star Trek is applied to, of course. We'd be like, oh, this is one of the big story episodes. Character's going to go through something real big here. And then it'll be like, oh, we have some filler episodes. But a lot of the time, some of the filler episodes, quote unquote, if you define them as no events happen that are really referenced going forward, they could be like some of the best ones, depending on how they're executed.
Yeah, well, that's where they generally get more free reign to be a bit more creative and just have fun with it. Like fucking Farscape had like an entire like Looney Tunes animated episode for no particular reason, just because they could. You know, it's just doing things a bit different, having fun with it.
Well, because it's funny being somebody who's watching a lot of them shows, because I hadn't seen Star Trek, and so I'd be like, oh, does Star Trek have an episode where they all get their, like, you know, minds transferred to each other, or they go to a parallel dimension where they're all evil, or do they... Because, like, all shows would have those episodes, a musical episode, of course, and stuff, and it's like, yeah, because they're just having fun.
Yeah, absolutely. There's one where they all act drunk, which is great. Like, see, like, serious actors like Patrick Stewart just, like, dicking around. It was awesome. Rod Thunderheart says, Hail Drinker and MauLer, like to plug my book, See Through Love, a Spanish teacher who can become invisible when angry, but when aroused, it happens uncontrollably. Is shocked to discover new gym teacher is blind, but can see her by feeling energy fields of... And then that's all there is.
All right.
Okay. Well, interesting premise.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that. JS Pena says, what's a movie so bad you almost forgot that it existed?
I was about to say, like, well, that kind of... I'd have to think about the ones I don't typically think about, I guess.
Both of the Venom movies. Not because they're so horrendously bad. They're just so utterly forgettable. I struggle to remember that they existed, and I struggle to remember anything that happens in either of them.
Ooh, Eternals. Maybe that's a good one.
Oh, yeah.
The thing is, I haven't seen it. Movies that were so bad. Because, like, someone's going to say something in chat, and I'll be like, oh, my God, yeah, I completely forgot about that. Indiana Jones 5, I'm not forgetting about that. Dial of Destiny, I'll remember that one. There was a fucking blight on that franchise.
Yeah.
Birds of Prey, that's a good one, I think. I did forget that existed
we've all collectively like wiped that from our memories. Morbius.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, just don't. I do like this one as well. The Drinker recommends Haley Atwell. I mean, yeah, sure.
I mean, the Drinker recommends. You should everyone recommends.
Every straight man on the planet recommends Haley Atwell. Form an orderly queue, gentlemen, behind me.
Even the gay men recommend.
Yeah. RRTNZ says, question for MauLer. How can I bring this up so that we can see it? Right, hold on. I'll see if I can bring it up in chat. I'm going to have to do this the old-fashioned way. 80s style.
You know, in the 80s, they did have internet, right? Oh, good God.
There you go.
Bear through the Hoth, Ragled, Diledu. I can't even, like, necessarily pronounce all this. Philby, Cymraeg, Udi, Twin Town. They're asking me if I've seen Twin Town, I'm guessing. Or they might be asking me more than that. But yes, seen it. It's basically mandatory in Wales. I haven't seen it for a while, though. Pambydd, Philby, Wynedd, Nidrich, and Doop. I don't know. I don't know what they're saying. I'm sorry. If you put it in the translator...
There's something else I need you to say as well. It's very, very close to my heart.
They always do this.
I know. Is that a rite of passage for Welsh people?
They did it we should have watched it with you. We did the Lord of the Rings parody because they say this is what's written on the ring.
Some form of Welsh. I can't read
the
it.
black speech of Mordor. But yes, Welsh does sound like you're having a stroke. It's fun to introduce people to some of its lore, Wales, because it's just like that exists. Like it does.
Yeah, it's an interesting language. That's definitely. Did you get to the point in Red Dwarf where they're trying to communicate with an alien spacecraft, and Rimmer's like, transmit on all known frequencies and in all known languages, including Welsh?
Yeah.
Stuckman Sucks My Balls said, "Hello there, gents. Can you do an EFAT move reaction for Chris Stuckman's Shelby Oaks once it comes out?"
Maybe. Not sure. Maybe. We'll see. I don't know when it's coming out or what format it's coming out.
Yeah. It's probably going to be in select theaters only.
Probably.
Yeah, I feel like it would be almost a bit mean-spirited to like just shit on it because it's like his first real movie. So I don't know.
When we did this short film, we tried to be as constructive as absolutely possible because the fact is, you're going to be hard pressed to find criticism of it online because of the fact that everyone online is hoping to reach some level and encourage everyone to get to his point. So I understand that completely. And so it's a matter of really, really being careful and assessing as fairly as you can. Give him compliments where you believe he deserves them, because I'm sure he's going to do something right in this film, right?
Well, he's bound to, yeah. I mean, it would be kind of cool if it was just fucking brilliant. Like somehow
that would be very cool.
We could absolutely like praise it because it could happen. Who knows? I hope it's more interesting than his movie reviews. Put it that way. TGV Monster says, "What's your favorite Resident Evil non-boss monsters? Mine would have to be the brain suckers from Resident Evil 3 and the Chimera from Resident Evil 1. God damn it, I was going to pick the Chimera. I always find them way more freaky than the Hunters. Like, they're just like these weird insect things that like drop down from the ceiling, and they've got these like gigantic hook claws. So if you pass underneath them, they'll just swipe at you."
Do the lickers count?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, all right, there you go.
There you go. What did you think of the regenerators from Resident Evil 4?
Super spooky. I'm pretty sure that was the scariest part of the game for me when I first played it.
It was the breathing sound that they made, wasn't it? And the weird sort of unnatural. Yeah. Yeah, they were pretty good fun. I'm trying to think if there was anything else that really stuck out for me. The dogs were just annoying. Yeah, in Resident Evil 0, there was also these like weird leech monsters, and I don't know, you couldn't really destroy them as such because their bodies were just composed of leeches. So like the regenerators, they would eventually come back. But again, they had this like weird, unnatural way of like waddling around, but they were like in a vaguely humanoid shape. It was pretty effective. I did like that. Marksman of 117B says, "Suicide Squad is peak boomer trash. Thanks, MauLer." You've experienced it, so they don't have to.
This is always what it gets people confused as to whether or not they should be happy or not after what they see on streams that they enjoy but are basically hell. It's that kind of experience.
Here's the ultimate question from Chernobog. If two witches watch two watches, which witch would watch which watch?
The left one watch the left one, the right one.
Makes sense to me.
Easy.
Also, MauLer, play more party games, please. Maybe play Gartic Phone with Star Wars Theory.
Yeah, that'd be fun. See if he's up for it.
Columbo's Raincoat. I highly recommend Californication with David Duchovny. Comedy drama series, not suitable for modern audiences and had consistent quality throughout. I feel like I started that, but I never really got into it. I don't know why. I like David Duchovny, though, so yeah, we need to go back to it. What's that one there? And an Until Dawn movie is in the works. The video game adaptation trend continues.
Yeah, while they're remastering the game as well. It's just, I don't know. I didn't realize there was that much of a pull for that game, but okay.
I did like it. I enjoyed it.
I think it's only fun like in a first run sort of thing. When you
realize, it always is. Yeah. Always is. Because it's the same with The Quarry. I quite enjoyed that one. Same kind of premise. But the moment you play it through a second time, you realize like there's nowhere near as much variation in the plot as you think.
Yeah.
But no, I've always got a soft spot for those kind of games where it's less about the sort of, the moment to moment like skill and gameplay, and more about making decisions. And yeah, I think it's quite cool. Like at least have the idea that you've got a bunch of characters that you kind of care about and like, and what sort of path are you going to lead them down?
There is a good game in it, but they didn't quite get there. Okay, but maybe one day. Maybe the film will be great.
Maybe. Michael Brokey says, "Hail, gents. I'm attempting to write a self-aware, fourth-wall-breaking comedy. How do you keep up the gags without them quickly becoming old, tired, and lame? Don't overuse them, I suppose."
Yeah, that's
worst
a bit
thing
of
you can do.
how long's a piece of string sort of thing. It's all going to be context.
Yeah.
Hard to give advice and exacts with that.
It is one of the worst things you can do if you're trying to be funny, though, is like trying to push a joke that's just not working, like way too far. Yeah, just know when to scale it back, I suppose. Jordan Pendragon, which director would you say has the best film batting average, i.e., the best ratio of good to bad movies? I might have said James Cameron, but like he's working to undermine that theory these days.
Who would I choose? Well, how many bad films do you think Scorsese has done?
I don't know, because like he's got like a lot of early movies that I'm not too familiar with, and I'd maybe need to go back and reconsider them. I mean, generally, I think it's got to be a way more positives than negatives, I would imagine. Let's look at his filmography, actually.
Are we allowed to use Living and Dead?
Yeah. Oh no, what was the question? Oh yeah, which director would you say has the best film average? So yeah,
I mean, all of it might be Kubrick, right?
Yeah, that's a good point actually. Because there's not many Kubrick films that you could say that was a bit shit.
Yeah.
What was your thoughts on Eyes Wide Shut?
Funnily enough, that's one I haven't seen. It's Nicole Kidman, right?
Yes, Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman.
I have not gone around to it yet.
I mean, you could definitely tell that they were going through like a breakup while this movie was getting made, because they fucking hated each other. Like those arguments were not staged. That felt like that was very real. But I don't know, man. It felt like an odd choice for Kubrick. It didn't seem like he had his usual flair. Obviously, he was a lot older by that point. Yeah, the other one that came to mind, like I don't know why I'm going on this train of thought, but like The Shining is one of my favorite horror movies, and I just recently watched Doctor Sleep, and I'm genuinely confused as to why that movie fucking exists.
What's crazy is a lot of people like it. I thought it was like I didn't really get a lot of it, and I have a friend who adores The Shining book and The Shining film, both of them, and hates Doctor Sleep.
I don't get it. I think the relation to the actual Shining, either the book or the movie, is so like weakly incorporated into the story, and it's really done like it feels like it's just trying to play on nostalgia. Like when he actually goes back to the Overlook Hotel, it's like, oh, okay, I guess we're going to get the greatest hits from The Shining. And they've got actors in who kind of look like Jack Nicholson, but not really, and it just feels like people doing a bad impression of him. And I just thought, why is this happening? And why is Danny not even the main character in his own movie? Because he's kind of not.
Yeah, Cap just said Dog Sleep's up there for the worst legacy sequels of all time. Honestly, I'm so woefully inadequate to talk about it. I didn't think much of it and have forgotten most of Doctor Sleep. So,
Fair news. Yeah, I was just looking at Scorsese's filmography here. So, God, fucking hell. Yeah, this is where we got like the.
It's a lot of movies. That's the one thing I think that you can't take away from him as a batting average. That he's probably got quite a solid one because there's so many great ones, like so many. But I guess you could say the same for Spielberg.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue his later stuff has been a bit iffy, but
not as impactful.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. He's doing all right as Martin. But the other one I was going to pick out was Robert Eggers as a filmmaker, because he's only
Yeah.
done The Witch, The Lighthouse, The Northman, and Nosferatu, which is coming out. So I've got high hopes for that. I think he's done pretty good so far.
That's fair.
And
I would also say Fincher is worth mentioning.
yes,
I am always fond of his work, pretty much. I'm trying to think of like what I would consider a very bad Fincher film, and of course, like Alien 3 is complicated.
yeah, because you could kind of make the argument that it wasn't even his film at a certain point. Like the studio just railroaded him.
Yeah, but I mean that's I'm just realizing we've spent on several questions. There's like 1,000 pouring in. You want to end in an hour and 20 minutes, like
I know, it's just some inspire a good conversation, I suppose.
true.
Because I'm not really like, when I'm doing this right now, I'm not trying to rattle through them as quickly as possible. Like, we'll get through however many we get through, and if I need to catch up later, which I almost certainly will, then I'll do it once I get back from Orlando. So I won't miss any of these questions. But yeah, some of them are just really interesting ones to ponder, I suppose. I don't often ask that questions like that. Which directors just got the best average and the most consistent body of work, and how do you gauge it? Like a guy like Eggers, who's only done like 4 movies, versus someone like Spielberg, who's been working for decades, or Scorsese. They're more open to like failures along the way, but no, it's cool stuff. AG, who's a membership of the Fellowship of the Drink, says, Drinker and MauLer, would you two ever come to Fan Expo in San Francisco? What do you say, MauLer? Should we go right now?
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, I don't like. I'm always open to doing these conventions. Like, it's definitely easier for me to get to ones on the East Coast because it's a lot less further to fly. But I guess see what opportunities present themselves. I guess the thing I always have to keep in mind is like, and it's the same for all of us, like Gary or Eric or Jeremy. We go to these things like, it's basically a week that we can't produce any content, we can't produce any new videos, and it's just a real break in our schedule, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but it kind of does impact. Like, it has a knock-on effect for you. But hey, they're really good fucking fun. So what can I say? It's a good problem to have, I suppose. Canada Plus says, who wins in a fight, Arkham Knight Batman versus Sekiro? I don't know.
Well, Sekiro can die twice, so that might outplay Batman. I don't know. But then again, he's killed people who don't die, so that's the thing. Batman kind of occupies a position in culture where he's basically unbeatable. So it's kind of hard to put anyone against him. Even like, Darkseid at his full power, you'd be like, nah, Batman. So
yeah. He's smart. He's a smart one, that guy.
he is indeed.
J.K. Fozo, when do you guys think it was that Hollywood switched from just being generally of the left to being woke lunatics, and what do you think caused it? So, I guess, to put it in more general terms, like, when did we see a real switch where politics started to really interfere with movie making? I guess I would pin it down to like 2015, 2016, probably when the presidential election happened and the whole Harvey Weinstein thing blew up. I think there was a lot of like knee-jerk reactions to both of those things in Hollywood, and that's why you saw a real shift in the style of movies that they put out. That would be my guess, anyway.
I think there used to be way better control over a unified sense of what a story is without anybody's interest in telling their very, very particular and sometimes just blatant points of view. We've had plenty of films in the past throughout all of human history that you could be like, oh, I get what you're saying with this one. But a lot of the times that's actually something that the film is known for. It's like, yeah, it's not exactly subtle, that sort of thing. But like, we haven't had not exactly, like no one's been subtle for a long time with a lot of the things they want to get across. To give you an idea, Drinker, and I know this isn't necessarily movies, but just sort of like a modern thing, right? Like when they're walking out to do their mission in Suicide Squad, I think Harley Quinn says something that makes her seem sad, and Boomerang is like, oh, you're sad because you're a sidekick and your boss is dead, being like Joker or whatever. And she like turns to him and goes, I am not a sidekick, and hits him in the throat and he starts choking and she's like, I'm awesome, or something like that.
Ugh.
And you're just sort of thinking like, listen, writer, I get that you want people to stop calling Harley Quinn a sidekick and you want people to call her like, oh, she's awesome for who she is, but like that's not how you do it. You're
Yeah.
so clumsy. Like, there's so many better ways. You just have her be an individual character that is interesting, has her own journey and all that. You don't have some character in universe be representative of the person you don't like and then punch them, you know?
I think, yeah, that's definitely a thing you see where writers are tripping over themselves to get their point across to the point where they don't trust the audience to draw their own conclusions. They don't want to weave like an interesting little story or a subtext that'll let you figure it out. It's like, no, I have to just tell you now because I need you to be in no doubt that this character is awesome. Okay, it's it's
And
it's
is there's an irony
frustrating.
then? Because, like, the subtler you are, the more likely you might actually convince people of your point of view.
Well, I
It can
mean,
happen.
it's the classic argument that you can't make people agree with you. You can't. Like, the harder you try to force them to see your point of view, the more they're going to be pissed off with you and they're going to
Yeah.
rebel against you. But like, you can persuade someone through really, um, really captivating arguments, like really good command of the facts, and win them around of their own accord to your point of view. But you have to have a good argument in the first place to be able to win them over, and that's what the writers mostly lack now. They lack the good arguments and they lack the ability to
Well,
present them to people.
especially Harley Quinn, 'cause I've seen a lot of people say it, it's so true. She got elevated so arbitrarily. Compare it to well, I say this as if I can't remember how much you know about it, but like Spike was in Buffy for one episode. He was like a jobber essentially for dealing with before the main boss. And then there was a scene where he was supposed to die, but they decided, we'll let him survive that. We'll let him survive it because people kind of like him and the actor's doing a really good job. And then he comes back for a cameo episode in a future season. And then one of the main actors is leaving the show to do a different show. And they're like, fuck it, let's just bring in Spike. People love him. And
Yeah,
then he becomes one of the main significant characters of the entire universe to the point of having like many POV scenes and his own episodes in like Angel season 5, for example. And you sort of you sit there thinking like, how did that happen? Was that forced? It's like, well, no, it's just people really liked him, and so we got more time. Harley Quinn is like, you will like her. She will have more time. You're
yeah. It's like
like,
they're
okay,
trying really hard to make her happen,
yeah, there's nothing
and
natural about it.
I feel like they're doing the same thing with a character like Miles Morales, who was already popular in his own right, but like because they're trying to force him upon people so hard, they're probably going to end up turning people against him because we can kind of see what you're trying to do with him, and it's counterproductive at a certain point, isn't it?
Well, see, with Miles, they have a couple of stories that people very much enjoy, right? I thought that like Into the Spider-Verse was very good. Um, and so I think that would be the key with Harley Quinn. If you can actually write it so that she's interesting. Several people are making references to some of the stories she has that are actually pretty good. I was like, yeah, fair enough. But we've had too many in a row now where she's a fucking cringe lord. So it's like that's
Yeah.
the association you have with her.
Daily Dose says, fun fact, I don't have an Uncle Bob. Funny fact, we're all being assigned an Uncle Bob. Slaps knees into a parallel universe. Hi, MauLer, please save metal. I don't know
Yeah,
what to
that's
unpack from that statement right there, but hopefully it makes sense.
there's a cutscene where someone's talking about setting up a piece of tech, and he says, do this, and Bob's your uncle. And then like camera moves to King Shark, and he goes, I don't have an Uncle Bob. And then there's like
Classic.
pause for laughter, and then he goes, are we all being assigned an Uncle Bob?
Hmm.
And you're just like,
Yes. I can see how humans would see that as funny.
that is comedy.
Krusty Juggler says the end of Reacher season 2 was cringe and the main bad guy was an idiot. Both things are true there. Also, rewatching Stranger Things. Remember the map that conveniently led to Hopper in season 2? At least we got 2 good seasons. Hey, season 4? Yeah, it was 4.
Season
Pulled
one's
it back.
good. Season 4 is like 50-50. It's definitely better than 2 and 3.
Yeah. Season 3 was garbage.
Yeah.
Hated it. That was painful to watch. As for Reacher, yeah, as I will be mentioning in my review when it comes out tomorrow night, yeah, it definitely devolves into a lot of action movie schlock, which is really fucking disappointing because I thought generally the season 1 tried to avoid that sort of cringe, but yeah, there is some really goofy bits where, to give an example, like a helicopter takes off and he runs over to it, grabs the fucking wheel, and is somehow able to hang on to it as it like flies hundreds of feet through the air, and then is somehow able to climb along the belly of it and then get into the rear door, which conveniently gets open from inside so that he can climb in. And the bad guys just happen to be like turned away from the door so they don't see him entering. Like, wow, that worked out really well because, damn man, I saw those like news feeds from Afghanistan when people tried to hang onto the wheels of planes as they were taken off from Kabul airport, and it didn't end very well for them. Like, there's no convenient way inside, I'm afraid. Yeah, it was a shame that they resorted to shit like that. Doug Schmidt says, favorite film or TV scores or composers of all time? We've been asked this a few times, actually.
Yes.
But the answer is generally like John Williams and Hans Zimmer, I think.
And Ramin Djawadi, and I really like Bear McCreary's work when it's good. Like, so there's...
That's a crazy statement.
I like everyone's work when it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll throw James Horner in there as well because I've got a fondness for his stuff. He did a lot of the Star Trek stuff.
Did we say Howard Shore?
Yeah, I'll be fine with that. I've got no objections there. And Vangelis, obviously. They did like all the 80s synth pop stuff from like...
All right, sell this for me. Is it Evangelis or Evangelis?
Vangelis, I think.
Okay, because
I mean, let's... Yeah. we both know who we're talking about. At least, yes. You know. Maybe chat can help us. Is it Vangelis or Vangelis? I'm sure you can definitely show us with text.
Because I feel like I knew once, but then I heard it so many times in the other thing. Now I'm like, oh shit, which one's the wrong one?
There we go. Restart point. It's pronounced that.
Vorngalize.
Avarith says, show Drinker the codex for Green Lantern and Wonder Woman.
Oh, I told him about that off stream. So just to summarize it quickly again, out of the 5 Justice League members, there are bio entries for the game. Now, before anyone tells me they're written by whoever or whatever, there's a codex bio. Like, so you get one for each of these characters. That's the game. Okay. So as the writer of the game, you decide what goes in there. So you have Batman's, which just talks about how he's a mean man, but maybe there's an Iceman underneath. Superman is weird. That one summarizes exactly what his history is, like Krypton and everything, and then says if he was to turn evil, that would be pretty bad. Next one is the Flash that says he's full of himself. He'll always turn up to tell you how awesome he is and stuff. And it's like, okay. And then Green Lanterns was this guy is a fucking cop, and a lot of people try to excuse that by saying he's one of the good ones. And you read it and you're like, okay, what the hell? And then you get to Wonder Woman's, and it's about 4 times longer than everyone else's, and it talks about how amazing and awesome she is and how she's had to deal with toxic masculinity. You read it and you're just like, you fucking serious? Like, what are you doing? Like...
God, that game. Here's a good one. How do you like the Attack on Titan soundtrack? I mean, damn, man. They throw everything, including the kitchen sink, at that shit. I love the intro sequence as well because it changes weirdly halfway through season 1, and I don't know if they stick with that in season 2. But the initial one is just like this fucking epic like rock power ballad, and then it transitions into something a bit more orchestral for like the second half of the season. But yeah, like everything is like amped up to 11 when it comes to like action, when it comes to spectacle, when it comes to soundtrack and like musical cues and stuff for Attack on Titan, and I love it. It's good stuff. JK Fozo says, are recreational gun ranges a thing in the UK? In Vegas, there's a range where you can shoot basically anything, including a minigun. Sign me up.
Wow.
I chose the Thompson, the most fun second and a half ever. No, gun ranges are not a thing, sadly, in the UK. The closest you'll get is like clay pigeon shooting or target shooting or something. But we don't have ranges like you have in the States. But when I've been out there, like pretty much every time I've gone to like the local like gun store, and they've all got their own rifle range like on the premises, and you can just go and say like, hey, I just want to fire a bunch of guns. I'm not going to buy anything because I have to go home, but like, can you just let me buy some ammo and shoot it off? And they're like, yeah, sure, pick your gun and off you go. It's great. I loved it.
Shooting guns is fun.
It is really fun. Probably the best fun I had was in the Czech Republic, because you can get fully automatic weapons there, and they don't really care too much about safety protocols or anything. They're pretty much just, here's your gun, there's your target, have fun, just don't point it at me or I will shoot you. And so I was like, yes, sir, understood. And I got to fire an AK-47. And that gun's ridiculous.
I did paintball once with a bunch of friends. And there was this fucking moment that was so funny. We'd all gotten like, suited up. We had the guns, everything was ready. The guy was giving his speech, and literally on the fucking line that he said, like, keep care of your guns, don't accidentally shoot people and keep them away from, and the gunshot sound just happened. One of my friend's brother had shot him in the foot, the speaker, completely by accident, and he just like stopped, slowly looked down and slowly looked up, and we were like, what the it's like a perfect movie moment.
There's a lot of fun to be had with paintball. I remember I was on a stag do once, and we did that, and like there just happened to be another stag do like on the same like map as us, like the same like day. And so how most of the paintball games are, like you have to, like, one team has to defend an area, the other one has to try and storm in and capture it, pretty much. On this one, the stag was dressed in like a wedding dress, so we all knew to target him. Like, he had to wear that. And they decided they were going to rush in like with a frontal assault, like straight across a bridge that they had to go across to get into this like little fort that we were in. And it was just every person on our team just turned their guns on this one poor bastard who was wearing a wedding dress. And I've never heard a grown man scream in that way. He got to the point where he was like, stop fucking shooting, you pricks. Normie says, hello, and thanks to your inspiration, I've written a book. It's called Duty by Damien Dorsanio, available on Amazon. A historical fiction story about an alternate end to World War II where the US invades Japan, told from the viewpoint of a Marine and a Japanese girl. All right.
Yeah.
Good stuff, man. Well done. What was this one? All right. Yeah, I'm just trying to watch some of the super chats that are coming in are like kind of relevant to what I was just saying, and I'm trying to flip between them and the list. Matthew Wood says, Drinker, glad to hear you're enjoying Attack on Titan. Curious where you're currently at and who your favorite character so far is. Mine is Commander Erwin, especially after season 3. So yeah, I'm just at the start of season 2 now. Just finished season 1. Very much enjoyed it. Yeah, in terms of favorite characters, Erwin's really good. Mikasa, I really like her. And why can I never remember his first name? It's Jaeger is his surname. He's basically the protagonist of it. Why can I never remember his first name? It's Aaron. Yeah, Aaron. Yeah, he was kind of grating and a bit annoying at first, but like he's kind of matured quite a bit over the course of season 1. And now, when you find out he can transform into a Titan, it's a complete game changer for him. Yeah, Aaron. People are helping me out there. So yeah, probably my favorite characters. And I love like crazy scientist lady as well, just because she's so over the top. But yeah, the thing that impresses me about that show so much is like I never feel like anyone's particularly safe, because main characters can die quite consistently, and people get introduced that you think are super interesting, and then boom, they're just like killed out of nowhere. It's pretty good at keeping the tension going.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I'm glad I finally got around to watching it. Jay Marsh says, hey, Drinker and Co. I'm curious on what y'all would think of a new Western done in the style of Sergio Leone. If the writers focused on making a good film instead of forcing the message, could it be profitable at the box office? I don't know, man. Like, I don't know how well The Magnificent Seven did, because that's probably the latest Western that I can think of that had a pretty all-star cast. And really adhered to like the classic storyline. I don't think it did particularly well, unless I'm going crazy. But the spaghetti westerns that you had with the Dollars trilogy had a very unique style of I guess presentation, like the constant buildup of tension, the humor, and the way it was framed. I don't know. It was so unique to that particular director. I wouldn't want to see someone just try and copy that, because it always just comes across as a cheap knockoff. I would rather see them do great westerns, because I think there's still plenty of stories that you can tell in that setting, but just do it in your own style. Like, don't feel like you have to copy someone else. But yeah, I'd like to see more Western movies get made, I suppose. Like, it's a fun, interesting genre. And it's been long enough, I think, that we can get back to that properly.
It'd be nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Bring back pirate movies. Yeah.
Yeah.
That first Pirates of the Caribbean movie, man, is so fucking good. I remember I just had such fun with it. It's just like,
Everyone did,
this
man.
is a great, fun adventure movie. I fucking love it. It's awesome.
It's how they were able to spend so much on the whole franchise. It's like people are fucking loving this shit.
Yep.
I think there's proof that you can make a movie about literally anything as long as it's well executed and it can get anywhere. And I've kind of forgotten that at this point. People are like, if it's not a superhero movie, why bother? It's like, ugh.
Pretty much.
Hopefully we're exiting that era, though.
I think we're quite rapidly, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew McCarty says, MauLer, this year is Arkham Asylum's 25th anniversary this August. Some of Kevin Conroy's best moments, not going to lie.
It's funny you bring that up. Everybody was compelling me to play it while playing Suicide Squad game. I played Arkham Asylum I want to say 5 times in my life, so it's been a while though, fucking maybe 10 years. So it's gonna be fun to stream it, which I'm probably gonna do tomorrow, because while I've been talking to Drinker, I've been making sure it works right now.
Ooh,
nice. Winky dink.
Andrew McCarty also says, is Farscape Peacekeeper Wars any good?
I liked it.
I think it provides a resolution, which I didn't think I was going to get. And I remember just being so fucking happy, because like when we got to the end of, I think, season 4 and it ended on a cliffhanger, I was legitimately gutted. I was so fucking invested in that show at that point. And to think that it was going to end on that horrible cliffhanger of John and Aaron getting like vaporized essentially. And we might never know what happens to them. I thought, what an absolute waste. I can't believe it's going to end like this. And then when we find out we're getting the Peacekeeper Wars, it's like, oh my god, like there's a bit of redemption there. We can get some kind of resolution. And it was bittersweet, but wasn't amazing, but I think they tied it up as best they could.
Fair enough. And as people mentioned, if it were 25 years old, it would have come out in 98 or 99, which doesn't make any sense. So I think they meant 15.
Yeah, it makes more sense.
Makes more sense.
This was an interesting one. Any of you guys seen The Keep? It's a Michael Mann film. I've seen it. It's very weird. So, quick summary of it. It's like a team of German soldiers during World War II occupy a castle in like Eastern Europe. And there's something lurking like deep within the bowels of the castle, like an evil spirit that tries to like escape. Basically, it's like it's feeding off like their energy or something, and it becomes like this supernatural like exorcist style battle between good and evil. It's extremely weird, interestingly shot, and it's pretty cool movie. I'm sure Ian McKellen's in it as well, actually.
Oh.
I was going to say a young Ian McKellen, but he was never young.
It's true.
Dude was born old. Scott Glenn, Jürgen Prochnow, Gabriel Byrne, and Ian McKellen. Hell of a cast. But yeah, it's good. I recommend you give it a watch anyway. It's an interesting one. John Goats says, "Did you gents see the Stellar Blade trailer yesterday? Looked awesome to me, though some seem to be protesting due to the design of the protagonist and the dreaded male gaze.
Geese.
Oh no, the male geese. They're lost, I suppose. Yeah, I haven't seen the trailer for Stellar Blade, so I know almost nothing about
Neither
it.
have I. Out of the loop.
He also says, surprised that Sony allowed such misogyny, but it seems the developers don't buy into that crap, and good on them for forcing Sony's hand away from their usual censorship if that's the case. Druckmann is fuming. Now, I have a little insight to share. Sony are not particularly invested in all that crap. They're not into the same line of thinking as companies like Disney. Their biggest shortfall is that they are cheap as fuck. They're always trying to do things as cheaply as possible, but they are not interested in pushing political agendas so much. So I guess that's a good thing. But if they could like not cheap out on their movies, that'd be nice too. So anyway, that's what I've been told. Ben G. Heinrich says, have you ever watched the new Percy Jackson show? Percy Jackson was a big thing when I was in middle school. Despite all of its flaws, it's better than the other Disney stuff and the films. 8 out of 10. So, interesting fact about Percy Jackson. I know precisely fuck all about that character or that series. I'm sorry. I just, I know nothing about it. I've never watched the movies. I've never read the books. So I'm in no position to comment on it. Sorry, man. George Hardwick says, is Greta Gerwig secretly glad Barbie didn't get an Oscar nomination? It's shot to relevancy again. Plus, she can say, I told you, the nasty men are at it again. I mean, I imagine she'd probably be happier if it just got the Oscar nomination. But it's already in the running for like Best Picture and like 7 other things. That's got to be
Best
enough.
Picture, man. What if it won? Like, Jesus.
I know, what a fucking joke. It'll probably be Killers of the Flower Moon, to be fair.
That makes more sense. Oppenheimer makes way more sense.
Yeah, I would rather see that win, but it won't, I don't think. Casey Boyd says, can't wait for the Open Bar 100 panel with Chris Stuckman, Organized Chaos, Pillar of Garbage, and Movie Bob.
Hell yeah, all-star.
Bring them all in. I'll have a great old time. Casey Boyd says, Drinker, you said you'd love to talk Star Trek with Red Letter Media. Don't take it personally if they don't collab with you. They had a bad experience a while back and don't do YouTuber collabs anymore. As far as I was aware, they never did it.
Very rare for them to collaborate in any way, shape, or form. And I think it is a matter of... It's funny how many people they end up trying to link with who end up in hyper controversies. Like I think they just had too many instances of that and they were like, fuck it, let's just stick to ourselves. It's like, all right.
What was the bad experience that they had?
Well, there's been a few, right? Like the depending on fuck, I used to know them all. Didn't they? One of those Max Landis. Obviously, he got in a huge cancellation thing, and I don't know if this is true, but I know someone super chat that they had unlisted their videos with him, at least a few of them.
Right.
How many? They collaborated with Shatner. Is that controversial? You talking about when the fight
didn't collaborate? Yeah, they didn't collaborate with him. Like he just, it was like an old man yelling at a cloud with them.
Oh yeah, see, they did stuff with Justin Roiland, and so he got cancelled. But I don't even know what's going on with that anymore.
Yeah, because he got exonerated, basically, didn't he?
As far as I'm aware, legally speaking, he's completely clean. So I don't know what's going on.
But in the court of public opinion, that's it. He's done.
Which is
why do I get like shades of The Hunt here when I think about things like this?
Oh, it's the perfect movie to have seen for everything going forward, you know?
Yeah. If anyone hasn't seen it, by the way, The Hunt starring Mads Mikkelsen, I reviewed it on my second channel, but like I heartily recommend it. It's so fucking relevant to today's world. It's almost painful to watch. But yeah, very good movie. But yeah, if the chance ever came up, I would love to talk Star Trek with Mike. And
yeah,
and rich. Even if it was offline, it would just be fun. He also says, MauLer, I didn't get to stay for your whole Suicide Squad stream, so I didn't get to hear your answer. Suicide Squad or Alan Wake 2? Oof.
Oh, I struggled with that question. Fuck, I can't remember what I said. I think with these sorts of questions, I usually end up saying whichever one's shorter. So I can get through it faster. The Suicide Squad would probably be the one now because I know how to get through that game real quick. And it's not exactly difficult, even on the hardest difficulty, of which I would turn down to easy. So that would probably be the choice. I've seen Mel play through Alan Wake, and it's fucking boring. But they both pretty damn boring. At least the disgust I have for Suicide Squad is something I'm aware of already, so I can blast through it and be like, yeah. Skip cutscenes, you know?
Yeah. Mr. Nobody says, hey guys, need more cringe in your life? Always. Adam Sessler said recently that God of War what's that again?
God of what? Ascension?
Ascension, that's it. I couldn't remember what it was problematic because Kratos curb stomps a boss, and curb stomping is inextricably linked to neo bad guys from World War II in our culture.
What?
But then who the fuck cares what Adam Sessler has to say about anything? Like,
it's so funny too because the first thing I think of most associated with curb stomping is because of my fucking generation is before American History X, fucking Gears of War. He fucking curb stomped everything in Gears of War. I guess I don't know if it count. Does it count? I think it was called curb stomp. We just kick someone over and stomp on their head, but like not
well, I
necessarily
mean,
like curb,
yeah, I mean, like literally, there's that way of like you get their head like right up against the curb and then bite it and then stomp on top. But yeah, I mean, Adam Sessler, I wouldn't really care what he has to say about anything, especially video games. He made it pretty clear that he hates the entire industry and everyone associated with it. So yeah, good one, Adam. Isaac Martinez says, is 2024 the worst year for movies because there's barely any good ones? Only Dune 2, The Bike Riders, Joker 2, Monkey Man, and Henry Cavill World War II movie.
We might get surprises. That's usually how it goes anyway, right?
Yeah, I mean, it might just be that we get fewer movies, but not necessarily worse ones. So yeah, I'll reserve judgment until we get to December 31st, I suppose.
Have you heard? I've heard bad things about Argyle.
Yes, it's sitting at like 13%, isn't it, on Rotten Tomatoes?
Ew,
but then if the critics hate it, then it's probably good. So,
well, Metal saw it and he said didn't have much of anything interesting to say about, like, it wasn't fun really. And I was like, oh, so I guess we'll have to see.
So if I bring it up now, let's see if it's changed. 36%, so it's climbing. It gets some mileage out of its silly, energetic spin on the spy thriller, but ultimately wears out its welcome with a convoluted plot and an overlong runtime. You know what's sad? It's the fact that Samuel L. Jackson was in it. Made me think it's probably shit. Like, and that never would have happened until a couple of years ago. But I think the fact that he's been in so many shit things associated with Marvel has almost soured me on his whole presence in movies. It's almost like, okay, this guy's got no judge of quality anymore. He'll just be in fucking anything.
I was gonna say, it's not even a judge of quality. He'll just be in anything. That's it. It's arguably a Christopher Lee equivalent. But I don't know. I guess Christopher Lee, I just remember him for his way better roles. But Samuel Jackson, you're right. I can't remember the last good film I saw him in. Maybe that's a me problem.
I'll finish up with a two-parter from Casey Boyd, who says, Drinker, watching Blue Eye Samurai on your recommendation and loving it. Excellent. On episode 4 right now, I agree Mizu is overpowered. She swung a hammer as a blacksmith apprentice her whole life. Her blade is insanely sharp, so you don't need to be strong to use it. Her grappling and throws were done with standard martial arts. It wasn't brute strength. She also took quite a beating. All right, sorry, she said, I disagree that Mizu is overpowered. Yeah, sorry, that makes a lot more sense when you say it that way. Yeah, because a lot of the criticism leveled at this character is like what you get for a lot of female characters, that she's too strong for what she is, and she can do insane feats of physical strength and stuff. the show tries to address it to some extent, where she's shown doing a heavy physical labor job for most of her formative years. She wears like lead weights attached to her wrists and ankles to wear down. So it's like constant strength training, and then she takes them off, so she's like super agile when she fights. So yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying it, and nice to see more people watching it, I suppose. Oh yeah, Timmy says, MauLer, in your coolest voice, say Police Constable Nicholas Angel.
Oh, is that who says that line? The beginning, is it?
It's
Bill
probably
Nye, or is it Simon Pegg
no,
says it? Police Constable Nicholas Angel. I think that's how he does it, right?
I feel like it's Jim Broadbent's character.
Oh, I think they're talking about the intro where he like lists all of his career.
Oh, okay.
You know?
That's fair enough. Yeah.
God, I fucking love that movie. I'm almost at a point where I'm like, time to rewatch.
Yep, it's getting there. And Andrew Romanowski says, hello for NYC, Drinker and MauLer. What are your thoughts on Michael Bay's Armageddon? We know it's silly, but me and my family love it all the same. I'm
pretty sure boat. I love it.
Yeah, it is very silly. Ben Affleck's audio commentary is fantastic for it, but it's so fucking fun. It's over the top.
Stupid movie, but I'm pretty sure there's some jokes in it that are like meant to be funny that are funny, if I remember.
Oh yeah. Like the bit where they're getting all their physicals to go into space, and like you find out they're taking horse tranquilizers and stuff.
You know, something that I guess you don't appreciate about a Michael Bay film, but might be worth appreciating is pacing. I don't remember ever feeling like bored watching his films.
No.
So I need to do a bit of a Michael Bay appreciation tour. So you could go watch his movies, see what I think.
I would be fully on board with that, because I've said many times, like his movies, one, have a nice look to them. I feel like they've got a sort of nice gritty look when it comes to action. He knows how to stage an action set piece when he calms down with the shaky cam a little bit. And I don't know, he has a knack for casting the right actors for the right roles. And there's a kind of just earnest desire to just tell a big, sweeping, heroic story.
Do you see Pain and Gain?
Yes.
I remember really liking that.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
It's probably the Rock's best performance, I would say, as well.
Yeah, it might be. I remember being surprised he even did it. I was watching it like, man, he agreed to this? Okay, cool.
Yeah. I think it was still relatively early in his career.
I think
hitting the big time.
It was just before he would have had someone tell him, you don't do any role that isn't heroic and strong now.
Yeah. Like now he's just the Rock, the brand, rather than the actor or the human. Smokey feels the same way, as you can tell.
Yep.
Like literally turned his world upside down. now you're destroying my blinds. Are you happy? You don't look happy.
Like, come stop me.
Absolute dick. Yeah. But I will probably end it there, because I'm kind of conscious that I should probably get to bed and try and get an early night, because I got to get up early tomorrow, and I'm going to be heading to MegaCon. It's going to be mega, I'm told.
Woo!
It's going to be fun. I'm going to meet up with Gary. I'm going to meet up with Jeremy, Eric, and a whole bunch of other people, and we are just going to pretty much drink and do silly stuff all weekend, and hopefully meet a whole bunch of our fans, if such a thing exists. So it should be good fun.
Well, awesome.
But yeah, thank you guys for joining us for this little slightly different thing that we were doing on a Thursday. I know it's not open bar, but we tried to keep you a little bit entertained and do something fun nonetheless. And the ones that we haven't done, the super chats that we've missed, I will, of course, always catch up on them once I get back to the UK.
Absolutely.
MauLer, thank you for coming in tonight. You've made this 50% more enjoyable.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
I did it.
But for now, anyway, that is all we've got for today. So go away now.
Bye.